You just spent 30 years of your house raising a family in this house that it's now completely empty. This is your chance to simplify, to travel, to start an epic life. But what if I told you that this one huge mistake could turn this dream life into an absolute nightmare? This is the single biggest trap that LA empty nesters fall into, and it has nothing to do with the house price. In this video, I'm going to expose that one mistake and give you a foolproof 3-step plan to make sure your next chapter is the most rewarding and amazing of your life. So let's start with the problem number 1, section number 1, talking about downsizing mistake. So what is it? This number 1 mistake is focusing on the what before you figure out why. Yes, let me break it down. Most people jump straight to what house should I buy, what's the square footage, and they scroll Zillow for hours and hours, obsessed to find this brand new shiny object that will be their new house. But in all that chaos, they skip the single most important step, and that's to decide what kind of life they really actually want to live. Yes, you end up solving one problem, my house is too big, creating a much bigger one, I hate this new life. Second problem is actually what happens in reality. And to explain that, I'm going to give you the story of a couple, let's say Mary and John, that were planning to downsize, and it turned out into a disaster. They made this exact mistake that we talked about. After their last kid moved out, they sold their suburban home for a huge amount of money, and they instantly bought a super slick, modern condo. They thought that was going to be it. They had won lottery. But that celebration lasted only about a month. Their dream home immediately felt like a prison. Mary loved gardening, but her new balcony was so small that all the plants died. John loved his garage workshop, but now all his tools were stored in a tiny closet. They had successfully downsized their square footage and made a lot of money, but they had completely downsized their happiness. They were so focused on what the condo that they totally forgot about the why they were moving. So that brings us to our section number 3, if you want, and that is your 3-step plan to avoid this huge disaster nightmare. Let's go over this plan. Step number 1 is a dream life blueprint. Before you even check Zillow or houses available on the market, get a notebook and write it down about, and be 100% honest. What does an absolutely perfect day looks like for you? What are your hobbies that you will have time for? What are you planning to do, focus your time on the weekends, during the weekends? And that blueprint becomes your playbook. Step number 2 is the money and the financial part of it. Once the blueprint is locked in, then you have to consider the money. In California, actually, we have a cheat sheet called Proposition 19. For anyone 55 or older, you can bring your tax basis to the new property, which is absolutely phenomenal. So you can avoid a gigantic tax base, and with that difference, basically build your new life. You only have to be worried about the insane HOA fees and make sure that you don't fall into that trap. This money stuff is, of course, can be like burdensome, but I have written a downsizing checklist which could help you as a roadmap as to how go about this downsizing process. And there is a link in my description that you can download and keep it close by. Now, after you've gone through the checklist, then maybe you can start looking for a house and making sure that the house matches your playbook, your blueprint that we talked about previously at the beginning of this video. So if you, in that playbook, you had to be in a walkable area, then maybe you want to check homes in Culver City. Or if your playbook, your blueprint was talking about having a one single level house with a yard, then maybe you want to look the houses in Palms or Mar Vista. Basically, in conclusion, I want you to know that the one thing that you are most excited about, that should be your focus and your why. Because everything else after that will fall into its place as long as you have a clear why in mind. So, to recap, build up your blueprint, then do your money and logic check. Don't forget about Prop 19. And then, once you have that in place, you can start looking. So I want you to know that this is not about just selling a house. It's basically setting up your next stage, next phase of your next chapter. And always remember that I'm here to help. I'm here to brainstorm. I'm just one call or text away. And let's do this together. You're not alone. Thank you for watching, and let me know what is your one item, one big why that actually motivates you to start this downsizing process. Thanks again.